All right, welcome back to ABA exam review in our latest RBT practice exam, where we're going through the next set of questions together and breaking them down. If you're new to the channel, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. Please like and subscribe. Check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials, including our combo pack. As always, when you pass, let us know so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Work hard, study hard. Let's get going. Your daughter is struggling in reading class, so you will refer to a specialist. The specialist informs you that they want your daughter to complete a 5-day assessment before intervention starts in order to gather data. What type of data is the specialist gathering? Now let's examine what the specialist is doing. We know your daughter is struggling, so they go to a specialist, which isn't really relevant, but the specialist says they want your daughter to complete a 5-day assessment before intervention starts to get data, and that's the key. What type of data are we collecting prior to intervention? Because remember, intervention data is when we measure behavior change. That's when we take data on how is that behavior actually changing. When we take data before, we're looking for where we're going to start, a benchmark, or in other words, a baseline. Baseline data is data prior to an intervention beginning. So what type of data is the specialist gathering? A, frequency. Well, the assessment isn't specified, so we're not sure exactly what type of data it is in terms of continuous measurement, but we do know B, it is baseline data because it's prior to our intervention. It isn't intervention data because intervention hasn't started yet, and it's not maintenance data. Maintenance data occurs after intervention is over, and with maintenance data, we are testing has that skill maintained or has that behavior remained reduced even after intervention or teaching has stopped? So we are starting prior to intervention. We're taking data before intervention starts. What type of data is the specialist gathering? Well, B, baseline data. This morning, Gregory attempted to carry his coffee cup, his water cup, and his bowl of oatmeal up the stairs. Halfway up the stairs, everything spilled all over Gregory. He now carries one thing at a time. Why did Gregory's behavior change? And here, the key is answering why did Gregory's behavior change in a behavior analytic way. And you always want to answer things in a behavior analytic way using our behavior analytic terminology and what we know about behavior change. What we want to avoid doing is saying, well, Gregory learned his lesson, right? Or Gregory learned a better way to do it. What caused Gregory's behavior to change? And we know behavior changes or increases or decreases due to reinforcement and punishment. So prior to the event, Gregory would carry his coffee cup, his water cup, and his bowl of oatmeal up the stairs. This time, everything spilled on Gregory. So now he's just covered in coffee and water and oatmeal. That behavior decreased, and now he carries one thing at a time. So why did his behavior change? Well, we know it decreased. So it must be some sort of punishment. Well, A, Gregory was burned. One, nowhere in the question does it say he was burned. And two, we would not say, well, the behavior change was due to the burning because we have a more specific answer, right? And what is the more specific answer? Well, the more specific answer is positive punishment. He's carrying all these items. They spill all over him. That's added. He's now covered in these items. His behavior decreases. So we add positive, behavior decreases, punishment. Gregory's behavior changed due to positive punishment. C, negative reinforcement. Well, nothing was taken away and behavior didn't increase. Remember, behavior increases with reinforcement. D, Gregory learned a better way to carry things. This is just explaining it away, right? We're not really saying why he changed it. And this is really a mentalism, right? We're in an explanatory fiction. Okay. He learned a better way to carry things. Well, in actuality, his behavior was punished. He's carrying up his items up the stairs. Everything spills over all over him. He's covered. His behavior was punished. He now carries one thing at a time. So why did Gregory's behavior change? B, positive punishment. We can reduce behavior through punishment or extinction. However, when we reduce a behavior, what else should we do? All right, kind of an abstract question. So let's kind of think about this. We start with the obvious, right? We reduce behavior through punishment or extinction. This we know. But whenever we reduce a behavior, what else do we need to do? Well, think about what happens when we reduce behavior. When we reduce behavior, we're removing a functional way of someone meeting their needs or adding or getting rid of something. So if we're going to take a behavior away that functions for somebody and gets a need met, add something or take something away, we need to add a behavior in its place. We can't just remove a behavior that helps someone get through life, even if it's maladaptive, without adding something. So if we're going to reduce a behavior, what else should we do? A, teach a new behavior. Now, teach new behavior is one way to look at it, but is there a more specific way to say this? What about B, teach a functionally equivalent behavior? Yes, B is better than A. Sure, we can teach a new behavior. Even better, we teach a functionally equivalent behavior to the old behavior, so it serves the same purpose. It's just more socially valid and functional. So if we decrease, we should always try to teach something functionally equivalent. C, teach communication. Possibly, depending on what we're doing, we might teach communication, but it isn't always going to be just teach communication. And then D, negatively reinforce the behavior for reduction. Well, we can't reinforce a behavior for reduction. That's the opposite, right? Reinforcement increases. So if we're going to reduce behavior through punishment or extinction and take away a functional behavior, what we should do is teach a functionally equivalent behavior to meet that same need. Last week, Landon received a break after earning 5 tokens during DTT. This week, Landon must earn 6 tokens before earning a break. What does this represent? And what does this represent? What are they talking about? Well, what occurred in the question? We know last week, Landon needed 5 tokens to get a break. So let's say an FR5 maybe. This week, he must earn 6 tokens. So let's say an FR6. Has the response requirement increased or decreased? Well, it's increased. Last week, he needed 5. This week, he needs 6. When the response requirement increases, what do we call that? A, schedule thickening. Well, we're not thickening the schedule. Thickening the schedule means we're providing more reinforcement and response requirement goes down. What we're doing is schedule thinning. We're reducing reinforcement and increasing response requirement. Another way to say schedule thinning is C, fading reinforcement. We're fading the reinforcement out. We're increasing the response requirement. We're making it more difficult to earn the reinforcement. Typically, this is used to strengthen and train for generalization and maintenance and that sort of thing. So what does this represent going from 5 to 6 tokens? Well, we're thinning the schedule. We're fading reinforcement. So D, both B and C. Your supervisor was supposed to train you on the client's new behavior plan today, but only stayed 15 minutes and did not get to it. They are now asking you to implement the plan according to what they wrote. How should you proceed? This is always tricky, right? You know, as a RBT or behavior technician, your primary role is implementation. You're supposed to be implementing plans. However, you need to be trained and competent before you implement anything. If you implement something you're not trained on, you might do more harm than good. In this case, you were supposed to train on the client's new behavior plan, but they only stayed 15 minutes and did not get to it. So you were never trained on it. They're now saying, well, implement the plan according to what they wrote. Is that okay? How should you proceed? A, implement the plan to the best of your abilities. What if it's a very complicated plan? What if there's a lot of different procedures and a lot of different behaviors? You might just end up doing more harm than good. So you definitely, if you're not prepared, just implement it to the best of your abilities. B, report your supervisor to the BACB. Well, that's a little harsh. There's not a clear indication that anything was done wrong here, right? Maybe they thought you were trained, but you only had 15 minutes. You're not really competent yet. So what should you do? Well, C, refuse to implement a behavior plan that you do not understand and ask for more training. Yeah, you're going to refuse to implement that plan until you understand it more. And what you should do is ask for more training. RBTs seek out more training when necessary. The reason A is wrong is because we never do something just to the best of our abilities if we're not properly trained. As good as it is to try your best, training is most important. We need to be well trained. We need to know what we're doing. So until you're trained, refuse to implement that behavior plan you do not understand. A classroom teacher is told to take 20 minutes of data on Brian's behavior once per day. The teacher should set a timer for 1 minute, 20 times, and record a response if the behavior happens the full minute. What type of data collection is this? Okay. Right off the bat, you should spot an interval data collection method, right? Because we have this brief period of time, 20 minutes of data, and then we're setting these time intervals, right? So intervals at 1 minute, 20 times. So we have 21-minute intervals, interval data collection. Now, the key here is we're going to record a response if the behavior happens the full minute. So if the behavior happens the entire interval, we record a response. What is that called? A, partial interval. Well, with partial interval, that behavior has to happen when? Well, it only has to occur for an instance. If it occurs at all during that interval, we record a response. What we're doing is whole interval recording because that behavior happens the full minute, and then we record it. What about momentary time sampling? Momentary time sampling says if the behavior happens at the end of the interval. So if a minute goes by and at the end of 1 minute it happens, we would record a response. And then play check is just the group version of momentary time sampling. So we have an interval data collection, 20 minutes of data, 1 minute intervals 20 times. If the behavior happens the full time, we're going to record a response. What type of data collection? B, whole interval. Extinction, differential reinforcement of other behaviors, and response blocking are all examples of what? Now be careful here, okay? Extinction is what? Well, we withhold reinforcement for a previously reinforced behavior. So what happens after a response? Differential reinforcement is what? We put one behavior on extinction, we reinforce others. It happens after response. Response blocking is what? Well, we prevent a response from occurring in response to someone attempting to engage in a response. So all these things are happening after a response occurs. So what are those considered? A, antecedent interventions. Well, antecedent interventions happen prior to the response occurring. What about B, punishment procedures? Is extinction punishment? It is not. Is differential reinforcement punishment? It is not. So be very careful. Those things are not necessarily punishment. Extinction is never punishment, right? Differential reinforcement is also not punishment. So what we're looking for is consequence intervention. C, these things that take place after a response has occurred. And then D, reinforcement procedures. Well, differential reinforcement, sure, but extinction and response blocking, no. So extinction, differential reinforcement, and response blocking are all consequence interventions. While riding in the car, a mom will feed her daughter in the car seat. The daughter will start to scream, but the mom will say more and wait for the daughter to make a sound resembling more before giving food. The mom is engaging in what? Very common intervention here, okay? We've got a mom feeding her daughter in the car seat, engaging in a natural form of teaching by saying, well, when the daughter will scream, I'm going to say more, and then wait for the daughter to make a sound before giving food. So she's teaching the daughter request and demand, and then she's reinforcing it. But she's using these naturally occurring opportunities while they're in the car feeding, do it. So what is the mom engaging in? A, tact training. Tacting is labeling. It's a label training. We're not labeling here. We're teaching requests. We're teaching commands. So what we're teaching is B, functional communication, teaching a way to functionally communicate needs. Rather than screaming, we're going to say more. We're not generalizing responses. We're teaching a very specific response. And then D, discrete trial training. No, because we've got this naturally occurring situation of feeding where we can now work on behavior. So the mom is engaging in functional communication training while working with the daughter in the car. Be sure to check out btexamreview.com for all of our study materials. Remember, RBT videos Monday, Wednesday, BCBA videos Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So when you pass your RBT, come back, get your BCBA with us. We are here to help. As always, let us know when you do pass so we can include you in the Sunday shout out. Like, subscribe. Thanks for watching.